The ghosts in the haunted house are begging me not to leave. Chapter 1. The ghost in my haunted apartment is helping me edit my resume. It was 3:17 a.m. when my computer screen suddenly flickered to life. The eerie blue light illuminated my face as a line of blood-red text typed itself into the Word document. Proficient in Microsoft Office? You can't even use Excel. What a joke. I stared at the screen, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. More words began to pop up in the document. Delete hard-working and diligent. These days, corporations see those words and start drooling like dogs that have found a pile of shit. And who told you to write willing to work overtime? Have you no self-respect? I slammed the laptop shut, a chill running down my spine. I knew there was something wrong with this goddamn apartment. My name is Leo, 29 years old, formerly a PowerPoint jockey for a tech company, currently an unemployed layabout for the last 6 months. Last month, I saw this place on my realtor friend's social media feed. Downtown, right by the subway, newly renovated. Market price was $3,000 a square foot. He was listing it for $800. The reason was simple. It was a murder house. 3 people had died here in the last 5 years. The last owner hanged himself, and they say his body swung in the living room for 3 days before anyone found it. I looked at the photos. The balcony got great light, the kit mic was huge, and most importantly, I was broke. So broke even the ghosts couldn't be bothered with me. I knew something was off the first night I moved in. I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and found the toilet seat was warm. 2 beers were missing from the fridge. And the weirdest part? The Wi-Fi was blazing fast. At least 10 times faster than my last place. Could it be ghosts were leeching my internet? As I was muttering to myself, a loud splash came from the bathroom. On the frosted glass, a soaking wet human silhouette slowly materialized. "Hey, buddy," a raspy male voice called from inside. "Can I borrow a towel? I'm getting a little pruny in here." The guy floating in my bathtub introduced himself as Mike. He was a programmer who died suddenly in 2019. Cause of death: cardiac arrest in the tub after a 72-hour coding marathon. I could have been saved, he grumbled, wringing water out of his hair. But HR said death from overwork doesn't count as a workplace injury, because I didn't die at my desk. I handed him a towel. "So you're a vengeful spirit?" "Vengeful my ass." Mike rolled his eyes. "I can't bear to leave this apartment. Do you have any idea how expensive real estate is in the afterlife? 4 lost souls like us with no graves. A haunted house in the mortal world is all we can afford." He held up his waterlogged fingers to count. "This place has had 3 deaths. It's got heavy yin energy and terrible feng shui, which makes it prime real estate in the netherworld. The 3 of us fought hard to claim residency here. If you move out and the next owner brings in an exorcist, we'll be out on the streets." Suddenly, the chandelier in the living room began to sway. A woman in a business suit slowly descended from the ceiling, the ligature marks on her neck clearly visible. "Why are you explaining all this to him?" she said coldly. "Just scare him off already." Mike waved his hands frantically. No, this guy's all right. He even burned some toilet paper as an offering for me." The female ghost floated in front of me, the scent of rotting perfume filling the air. "Listen up," she said, her words sharp and deliberate. "Either you stay here for the full 5 years until the mortgage is paid off." She then cracked a horrifying smile. "Or I can show you what freelancing for the dead really means." My knees went weak, and I nearly collapsed. "Ma'am, let's talk this out." She tossed a document at me. Haunted House Residency Agreement. Party A: Leo Living Human. Party B: Vanessa Hanged Ghost, Jean Mike Overwork Ghost, Frank Zhang Jumper Ghost. Clause 1. Party A shall not move out without authorization. Otherwise, Party B reserves the right to engage in moderate levels of intimidation. Clause 2. Party B shall assist Party A in resolving issues related to career, relationships, health, etc. Clause 3. Utilities shall be split evenly. After I signed, Vanessa's expression softened slightly. "By the way," she said suddenly, "don't you have an interview tomorrow?" I nodded. The 3 ghosts exchanged a look, their smiles unsettling. "Send me the address," Vanessa said, her tongue lolling out before snapping back into her mouth. "We're familiar with that company." Chapter 2. The ghostly headhunters. At 4:23 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number appeared on the screen. Wear the blue shirt, no tie. The HR director, Miss Felix, hates any man in a tie. Her ex-husband was an investment banker. I shot up in bed and looked around. A puddle of water was seeping from under the bathroom door. And Mike's voice drifted out faintly, "Don't look. Vanessa Dream hacked their HR files. She knows their personnel records better than the CEO." My closet door creaked open on its own. The blue shirt I hadn't worn in 3 years floated out. A grease stain from a hot pot dinner last year still on the collar. "Wait," I said, grabbing the shirt. "What exactly are you guys doing?" Half of Vanessa's face phased through the ceiling, her long hair dangling in front of my eyes. "Getting you the offer, of course." Her rotting fingertip tapped my phone. "This company, Apex Tech? They drove 2 programmers to suicide 2 years ago and worked a product manager to death last year. Their karma is so bad, the underworld opened up a special 18th level of hell just for them." The curtains billowed without a breeze, and a yellowed employee handbook landed on my lap. I opened the first page, which was covered in tiny, blood-written notes. "CEO's office, 3rd drawer on the left, has sedatives. The chicken legs in Wednesday's overtime meal are leftovers from last week. The receptionist, Tina, is sleeping with the CTO." Mike's soaked head poked out from behind the door. "We've got 3 of our guys squatting in their server room, ready to crash the network at a moment's notice." He grinned, revealing waterlogged gums. "Don't worry. Go in there and lay it on thick." Under the sun, the glass skyscraper housing Apex Tech looked like a giant coffin. The moment the receptionist looked up, I heard Vanessa's cold laugh in my ear. "She's wearing a listening device in her right ear. She's the CEO's spy." My hand trembled as I passed her my resume, and the paper accidentally fluttered onto her miniskirt. "Sorry," I whispered as I bent down. "Your CTO's wife is coming to check on him this afternoon at 3. The receptionist's expression froze. 5 minutes later, I was led into a conference room. In the reflection of the mirrored glass, I could vaguely see an old man with a twisted neck riding on the HR director's shoulders. It was Frank, the jumper, blowing phantom energy into her ear. "Your project experience," the HR director suddenly shivered, "is very unique." Her eyes were glazed over as she flipped through my resume, where several new lines had mysteriously appeared in blood-red ink. "Led the development of the underworld's ERP system. Optimized the reincarnation algorithm, reducing rebirth processing time by 30%. A pinch of paper ash suddenly drifted from the air vent and landed in the HR director's coffee. She took a sip, dazed, then her eyes filled with tears. "So inspiring. Can you start tomorrow? We'll give you the highest salary bracket." That night, the 3 ghosts gathered around my new company ID badge, clucking their tongues. "A company this scummy actually has facial recognition for their security gates?" Vanessa's fingernail scraped across my photo on the badge, leaving a black scorch mark. "Tomorrow, I'll have Frank hack the database and turn on the beauty filter for your face scans." Mike was using his spectral energy to overclock my laptop. "I've planted a Trojan on their internal network. Anyone who assigns you an impossible workload will get the blue screen of death." Frank, floating by the chandelier, spoke up suddenly. "The 37th floor fire escape." His cloudy eyes turned to me. "Go up there during your lunch break tomorrow. There's something in the wall." I opened my mouth to ask, but the 3 ghosts simultaneously put a finger to their lips. The bathroom faucet suddenly burst, and the bloody mist that sprayed out coalesced into 3 words on the tile. "Don't ask, or die." Chapter 3. The Ledger in the Wall. During my lunch break, the 37th floor of Apex Tech was as quiet as a tomb. I pushed open the heavy iron door to the fire escape, and the smell of mildew mixed with something sickly sweet hit me. The emergency light at the end of the hall flickered, illuminating the dense web of fingernail scratches on the walls. 3rd tile from the left, Frank's voice echoed in my ear. The icy breath numbed the side of my face. "Pry it open." I pulled the pen Vanessa had given me last night from my pocket. The nib had somehow transformed into a sharp blade. The grout around the tile was already crumbling, and it came off with a gentle pry. In the darkness, a stack of documents wrapped in plastic wrap glowed faintly. "Don't touch it with your bare hands." Mike's warning came a second too late. The moment my fingertips touched the file, a jolt of pain, like an electric shock, shot through me. What was under the plastic wrap wasn't paper at all. It was 3 sheets of human skin, each covered in financial ledgers tattooed with meticulous detail. The ink, like veins of blood, seemed to flow slowly beneath the skin. The latest entry read, September 15th, 2023 payment to L City Construction Bureau Souls X2 female, 2530. It's a sole contract. Vanessa's head emerged from the wall, her long hair wrapping around my trembling wrist. The living pay with their lifespan, the dead pay with their souls. That bastard is using us like currency. The human skin suddenly convulsed violently. The third sheet displayed an image, like a security camera feed. In a dark office, a pot-bellied man was kneeling before an altar. On the table wasn't a statue of a god of wealth, but a pitch-black idol of an infant. As he slid the human skin ledger into the idol's base, the baby's eyes suddenly moved, staring directly at me. Smack. Vanessa's severed hand covered my eyes. "Don't look at that thing," she said, a trace of fear in her voice for the first time. "It recognizes the gaze of the living." By the time I got back to my desk, my shirt was soaked in a cold sweat. My computer screen lit up on its own, and Mike's greenish, pixelated face filled the screen. "Found it. That's a demon mother idol, brought over from Thailand last year. The CEO uses a blood offering every Friday night to power its magic. The 2 missing women from the marketing department were the sacrifices." The chat window on my screen began to flash frantically. A message exploded in the company-wide group chat. Important notice. All nighted tonight to push the project. The CEO will be distributing incentive bonuses in person. A private message from Chloe, the admin assistant, popped up. "You're so lucky, newbie. Mr. Felix specifically requested you join us." My phone vibrated in my pocket. A spectral text from Vanessa. "Go to a bathroom stall now. Don't look back. It can smell the life on you." Inside the locked stall, the 3 ghosts were arguing furiously. It's too soon to make a move. Mike, in his watery form, sloshed around in the toilet bowl. "We at least need to find out." Vanessa's nails dug into the stall partition. "Find out what?" "That bastard is going to use him as an offering tonight." Frank suddenly pressed his rotting face close to mine. "Kid, you afraid of a little pain?" Before I could answer, his withered fingers plunged into the flesh just below my collarbone. Amid the searing pain, a jade tablet glowing with a faint green light was shoved into the bloody wound. "This is a soul-calming talisman. The developer stuffed it in my mouth when I jumped from their construction site." What flowed from his wound wasn't blood, but a black, fibrous substance. "Now it recognizes you as its master. That evil god will think you're one of its own." The sound of high heels echoed outside the stall, and Chloe's sickly sweet voice seeped through the crack in the door. "Leo, Mr. Felix asked me to bring you some coffee." Vanessa's pupils constricted to pinpricks. "Don't drink it. It's laced with." The sound of the doorknob turning cut her off. Chapter 4. The coffee on the altar. As the doorknob turned for the 3rd time, the light in the stall exploded. In the darkness, a rotting hand shot out of the toilet drain and grabbed my ankle. Mike's voice, echoing from underwater, commanded, "Hold your breath." I instinctively took a deep breath, and the next second, I was yanked into the rushing sewage. Then I crawled out of the admin department's printer. Netherworld Express. 5-star rating, Mike said. Half his body was still stuck in the toner cartridge. He pointed a smudgy finger at my suit. "That coffee is on your desk. It's got a full dose of obedience potion. 1 sip and you'll walk right into the sacrificial chamber on your own." I wiped the filth from my face and felt the jade talisman under my collarbone burning. Tiny black patterns were spreading across my skin, like living veins crawling toward my heart. "The side effects are starting." Frank's head dangled upside down from a ceiling vent. "The talisman is rewriting your life force frequency. Once the pattern reaches your heart, the evil god will recognize you as one of its thralls." The printer whirred to life and spat out a blood-stained sheet of A4 paper. "Don't touch the coffee. Let Vanessa drink it. She's your stand-in now." Vanessa's cold laugh seeped from the paper. "Suits me just fine." Her form solidified in the air, her rotting business suit transforming into a perfect replica of my own. That bastard owes me 2 lives. Tonight, I collect the interest. By 11 p.m., the entire office was in a state of bizarre euphoria. The marketing manager's eyes were bulging as he chewed on his own fingers while typing. The finance director was on all fours, licking coffee stains off the floor like a dog. The receptionist was using lipstick to draw strange symbols on a mirror. "Don't look at them," Mike whispered in my ear. Last week, Mr. Felix poured spirit-opening broth into the water cooler. The whole company is a bunch of half-human puppets now. A dark red light seeped from under the CEO's office door. The moment I pushed the door open, my 98.6-degree body heat caused frost to form on the doorframe. The demon mother idol on the altar slowly turned its head, its pitch-black eyes locking onto the jade talisman under my collarbone. Then it smiled. "One of us has arrived?" The pot-bellied man rose from his leather chair, a murky light glinting behind his gold-rimmed glasses. "Alio, did you have your coffee?" The version of me played by Vanessa nodded stiffly and drained the drugged coffee in one gulp. "Excellent. Excellent." Mr. Felix clapped, and a few maggots wriggled out from the folds of his skin. "We're breaking ground on a new project today. You're coming with me to the construction site for the foundation ceremony." As he turned to wipe the idol, I noticed several long hairs stuck to the leather chair, the exact same color as the missing marketing employees. In the underground garage, Mr. Felix hummed a little tune as he started his Mercedes. A dull thudding sound came from the trunk, as if something was struggling inside. "The talisman's power is turning on you." Frank's voice came from the car's GPS. "Once the patterns reach your throat, you'll be able to see the real world. But they'll be able to see you too." In the rearview mirror, Vanessa's disguise was distorting. Corpse fluid seeped from under her suit, and the sigil from the coffee was burning through her stomach, creating a green smoke. "Hang in there," I whispered under the cover of a cough. "We just need to find where they're keeping." The GPS screen suddenly fizzled with static, and Mike's ghostly face filled the display. "Bad news. The souls of the 2 missing women aren't in the idol." As the Mercedes pulled into the abandoned construction site, the car radio automatically tuned to a news report from the previous year. "Collapse at an L City development site due to illegal nighttime construction. The bodies of 2 female university students have yet to be recovered." The tires crunched over scattered rebar. In the distance, a dozen blurry figures stood in a foundation pit. They held candles, surrounding a coffin that was half sealed with concrete. Mr. Felix handed me a shovel with a grin. "Here. The new guy always digs the first shovelful." The coffin lid suddenly began to vibrate violently, and the sound of scratching nails echoed from within. Chapter 5. The Cries in the Concrete. The moment the shovel hit the concrete, a piercing shriek, like a baby's cry, echoed from beneath the ground. "Dig." Mr. Felix's fat hand slapped my shoulder, his suit cuff smudged with a few drops of dried blood. "This is your initiation ceremony. You know how many people would kill for this opportunity." The coffin lid trembled, and a blackish-red slime oozed from the cracks in the concrete, like a mixture of rotten blood and rust. My hand holding the shovel was suddenly controlled by an unseen force. The patterns from the jade talisman had already spread to my right arm, thin black lines pulsing like veins beneath my skin. "Don't fight it," Frank's voice rumbled from the earth below. "The talisman is syncing with your muscle memory. Just act like you're being controlled." I shoveled dirt mechanically, catching a glimpse of the Vanessa me convulsing in my peripheral vision. The collar of her suit ripped open, revealing the rotting skin beneath. The sigil from the coffee was boring through her organs like a living worm. 3, 2, 1. Mr. Felix suddenly raised his phone, the flashlight beaming. "Open the coffin." The dozen shadowy figures knelt in unison, and the cement coffin exploded with a deafening crash. From the thick, foul-smelling fog, 2 female corpses in Apex Tech uniforms sat up straight. Their skulls had been sawed open, their brain tissue embedded with microcircuits, and their spines were connected to rebar that had been poured into the concrete foundation. "Our latest model of human pillar employees." Mr. Felix inhaled deeply, intoxicated. "They can work 24/7 even after death, and we don't even have to pay for their health insurance." The burning sensation from the talisman suddenly shot up to my throat. My vision turned blood red. The entire world warped. I could see countless infant spirits writhing inside Mr. Felix's bloated body. The kneeling crowd was made of decaying corpses, and the two reanimated female employees, their souls were actually pinned to a steel frame 5 meters away, screaming silently. See it now. Mike's ghost crawled out of the Mercedes gas tank. That coffin is an underworld signal tower. It uses living souls as antennas and dead bones as base stations. Vanessa suddenly lunged, her rotting hand piercing through Mr. Felix's back. You bastard! Last year you said you were hiring an admin assistant. Her accusation was cut short. The back of Mr. Felix's torn suit revealed greenish-black skin, tattooed with a complete image of the demon mother idol. The idol on his back suddenly opened its eyes, and Vanessa's arm instantly carbonized. I knew some filth had snuck in. Mr. Felix's head turned with an audible crack, and a second face emerged from the back of his skull, the face of the pitch-black infant from the altar. Perfect. I'll use you to complete tonight's offering. The moment I lunged for the steel frame, the jade talisman under my collarbone burst from my flesh. It split into 3 pieces in mid-air, striking the foreheads of the 2 female employees and Mr. Felix's chest with perfect accuracy. Now, Frank's roar rattled my eardrums. Pull out the main rebar from the coffin. In my hands, the concrete suddenly felt as soft and yielding as rotten flesh. As I gripped the rust-red rebar, a flood of images poured into my mind. Mike, working late in the server room, as a black infant crawled out of his monitor. Vanessa, seeing the demonic face on Mr. Felix's back just before she was pushed down the stairs. Frank, in the split second before he hit the ground, realizing the steel frame was filled with the bodies of missing construction workers. These are your memories? The rebar began to vibrate at a high frequency, and the entire construction site started to shake. The souls of the 2 women broke free from their bonds and shrieked as they charged at Mr. Felix. His skin burst like a balloon, and the pitch-black infant floated in the air, an umbilical cord still attached to its navel. The other end led directly to the wound in my collarbone. It's marked you as its new mother. Mike's severed hand frantically clawed at the wound. Use the rebar, stab it. The infant's cries suddenly transformed into a chorus of 300 voices, chanting a Buddhist sutra. At the edge of the foundation pit, a dense crowd of figures appeared, engineers holding blueprints, workers in hard hats, women cradling babies. Their bodies were all the color of cement, with rebar protruding from their eye sockets. They're finally here. Frank's soul laughed as it began to dissipate. The real owners of this property. 300 pairs of cement hands simultaneously pointed at the rebar in my grasp. Chapter 6. The Debt-Collecting Homeowners. When the 300 cement-encased bodies opened their mouths in unison, the entire construction site echoed with the sound of cracking concrete. Give, use, back, our lives. The low-frequency resonance shattered the windows of the Mercedes into dust. The umbilical cord in my collarbone wound writhed frantically, pulling out a gush of black blood with every struggle. The souls of the female employees impaled on the rebar suddenly split and reformed, merging into a giant, translucent serpent that coiled around the infant. Don't pull out the cord. Vanessa's carbonized arm crumbled into ash. That's a yin-yang contract. If you sever it by force, you'll. The cement spirit's fingertips were already poking into my back. There was no pain, only a flood of memory fragments pouring up my spine. March 2018, Mr. Felix mixing substandard rebar into the pile driver. A stormy night in 2020. His order to pour concrete directly into a collapsed pit last week. The final screams of the missing female employees before they were welded into the coffin. This isn't about revenge, I heard my own voice say, mixed with the echoes of 300 others. This is about making you watch. The rebar in my hand suddenly grew scorching hot. The rust peeled away to reveal glowing, dark gold sigils. Mike's ghost emerged from the sigils, his watery form now replaced by the image of a programmer in a plaid shirt. Finally activated. The backdoor program I left in the main rebar. The pitch-black infant let out a high-frequency scream. The umbilical cord attached to its navel sprouted countless blood-red threads, spreading across the entire construction site like circuitry on a motherboard. Every piece of rebar began to glow, and a massive blood-red sigil, a twisted version of the Apex Tech logo, appeared on the ground. You think you're the only one who can use technology for evil? Mike's soul rapidly typed code in the air. That human pillar management system. You forced me to write? I secretly added a little exorcism subroutine. Beneath Mr. Felix's burst skin, his bare bones were revealed, each one etched with a miniature QR code. Amid a chorus of scanning sounds, the 300 spirits all turned and pressed their rotting hands against the codes. Your Underworld account ending in 2023 has received a new deposit. 1 life debt. Automatically redeemed for 1x 18th level of Hell experience voucher. The pitch-black infant contorted as if torn by an invisible hand. It shrieked and spat out 2 balls of light, the souls of the devoured female employees. Vanessa's remaining arm shot out, catching the orbs and pressing them into her own carbonized wound. Clause 3 of the contract, her burning eyes locked onto Mr. Felix. Party B shall assist Party A in resolving career-related issues. The cement spirits suddenly began to sing a requiem. The sound waves cracking open a massive fissure in the ground. Countless small, grayish hands reached out from the fissure, grabbing Mr. Felix's ankles and dragging him down. He desperately clawed at the floating infant, only to find the umbilical cord had already wrapped itself around his own neck. No, I'm your provider. The infant bit his head off. As the pre-dawn rain washed over the construction site, I knelt in the mud vomiting. The jade talisman under my collarbone had melted, leaving a bloody hole that went straight through me. Stop picking at it, Mike's fading soul said, sitting on a piece of rebar. That was the demon mother's life source jade. You're its new host now. Vanessa was regenerating her body, the souls of the 2 women glowing within her. We found it. Behind Mr. Felix, there's... Her warning was cut off by the screech of brakes. Chloe, the admin assistant, pulled up in her red BMW at the edge of the ruin. She stepped out in high heels, holding an urn covered in talismans. As the rain washed over her, her shadow split into 7 distinct shapes, each with a fox's tail. Impressive, she said, bending down to place the urn on the ground. Her pupils narrowed into slits. But did you really think he was the only one in on a scheme this big? The lid of the urn slid open on its own, revealing a box filled to the brim with still beating black hearts. Chapter 7. The Casket of Fox Hearts. In the urn at Chloe's feet, the black hearts suddenly began to beat in unison. Thump, thump, thump. With each beat, a gush of black blood erupted from the hole in my collarbone. The rhythm nearly dissipated Mike's fading soul. The fine cracks in Vanessa's newly regenerated body reappeared, and the 2 female employee souls inside her groaned in agony. Don't listen to the heartbeat. Frank's roar came from deep within the earth. It's a fox demon's soul-stealing drum. Too late. The rhythm of the black hearts had already hijacked my own pulse. My vision began to warp, Chloe's figure splitting and merging until she became the shimmering silhouette of a giant, 7-tailed fox. With every step, her high heels burned glowing paw prints into the mud. A fool like Felix was just our walking ATM, she said, kicking his severed head. Her fox-like teeth crunched his gold-rimmed glasses. The real business. The urn exploded, and 100 hearts floated into a ring in the air. The face of a person appeared in each heart. The director of the City Planning Bureau, a bank president, the chief of the court's enforcement division. There were even 2 men in Taoist robes. Has always been a trifecta of corrupt officials, corporate sharks, and crooked mystics. The rain suddenly began to flow upwards. In the suspended raindrops, countless memory fragments appeared. The bureau director signing shady contracts with developers in a karaoke bar, the bank president packaging bad loans as retirement funds, the Taoist priests using copper coin swords to bless shoddy, unfinished buildings. Last year's collapse, I said, wiping the blood from my face. You did it on purpose. One of the fox's tails shot out, pierced my shoulder, and hoisted me into the air. In the searing pain, the hole in my collarbone was forcibly stretched open, and the shadowy form of the pitch-black infant writhed inside. What a fine host, Chloe licked her sharp teeth. First time I've seen a demon mother parasite a living human. She leaned in and whispered in my ear, you know why you were chosen? Because the resentment of the poor. Her claw grazed my neck. Is the most nourishing. A bolt of green light shot from Vanessa's carbonized arm. Now fused with the 2 female souls, her left side was a rotting ghoul, while her right side looked perfectly human. The green light struck the urn, and the 100 hearts convulsed in unison. The 2019 Black Friday sale. Vanessa's human half wept. You buried 7 young boys in the foundation of that shopping mall. The 2021 winter solstice. Her ghoulish half's nails grew long and sharp. You used a silencing spell to muffle the screams of the elderly when you demolished that nursing home. The green light formed into chains that bound the fox's tails, and I fell heavily into the mud. Mike's fading soul took the opportunity to dive into the hole in my collarbone, shouting, "Recite it! The 37th note in your phone." I fumbled for my phone with trembling hands. The screen lit up on its own, displaying a note Vanessa had secretly typed on the night I moved in. Article 3.7 of the Underworld Labor Code. For those who die due to malicious withholding of wages, the creditor must personally experience the suffering of the hungry ghost realm. The sound of rattling chains rose from the ground, and 6 tall, capped figures emerged from a fissure. The lead bailiff opened a ledger, his voice like a rusty knife scraping bone. Fox Demon Lily, guilty on 113 counts of soul debt. The sentences. Chloe suddenly tore off her human skin, and her 7 tails erupted in a storm of black foxfire. You think a few low-level grunts like you can stop me? The black flames she spewed forced the bailiffs back. In the chaos, the 100 hearts began to converge, gradually forming a massive, grotesque ball of flesh. Shit! Mike screamed inside me. She's summoning. A slit opened in the flesh mound, revealing the half-familiar face of a golden Buddha. It was the same one from the lobby of Apex Tech. Chapter 8. The Hungry Ghost Chain Debt. The moment the golden Buddha in the flesh mound opened its eyes, all the rain from the construction site poured backward into the hole in my collarbone. In the agony, Mike's soul was flushed out by the flood of dark energy, and Vanessa's chains shattered. The fox demon, Chloe, her 7 tails now wreathed in black fire, had countless sutras appearing on every strand of fur. Behold, the real Apex Golden Buddha. She shrieked, tearing open the flesh mound. Gold-plated on the outside, but inside, it's a demonic fetus forged from 300 pounds of corpse oil. In the putrid, holy light, I saw countless struggling souls trapped beneath the Buddha's lotus throne. The ones on top were especially clear. A feng shui master chewing on his own fingers, a bank president being strangled by his own tie, the director of city planning endlessly counting a stack of hell money. A hungry ghost buffet. Chloe's foxtail snatched a black heart and stuffed it into the Buddha's mouth. Your 3-course meal of greed, hatred, and ignorance is served. As the Buddha chewed, the pitch-black infant in my collarbone hole began to wail. The pain transformed into a grotesque feeling of fullness, as if countless people were feasting on offerings inside my stomach. It's a backlash. Mike's soul yelled, clinging to my ear. The jade talisman shattered, but the demon mother has claimed you as its host. The bailiff's chains suddenly changed direction, locking onto my limbs. The lead bailiff flipped to a new page in his ledger. My photo appeared on it, with the living room of my haunted apartment in the background. Leo, lifespan not yet depleted, but now liable for Hungry Ghost Realm Chain Debt X1 Guarantor, Frank. Human Pillar Technology Patent Fees X1 Inventor, Jean Mike. Underworld Residence Squatting Fees X3 Creditors, Vanessa. Chloe's fox fur trembled with laughter. Surprise! The mortgage on your haunted apartment was actually a reincarnation loan from the Hungry Ghost realm. The Golden Buddha spoke, its voice like a broken subwoofer. Pay. With your flesh, or your soul? Vanessa's fractured soul form suddenly appeared in front of me. Clause 4 of the contract. Her rotting half crumbled. When Party A faces irresistible force, Party B must activate the ultimate protocol. The fading souls of Mike and Frank both shuddered. Are you insane? Mike's code-like form flickered violently. That will completely. Vanessa had already plunged her hand into her own chest, pulling out the 2 orbs of the female employee's souls. The moment they merged, every piece of rebar on the site let out a piercing scream, and a massive blood-red circuit board diagram appeared on the ground. When we died in the server room last year, the overlapping voices of the 2 women echoed through the rainy night. We secretly connected to the underworld's 6 realms of reincarnation server. Beams of light shot from the blood-red circuit board into the sky. 6 slowly rotating black holes appeared in the clouds, each with data cables like chains dangling from them. Chloe's fox fur stood on end. You motherfuckers hacked the cycle of reincarnation. The infant in my collarbone hole suddenly stopped crying. It started to laugh. Countless black veins spread from the hole, instantly covering my entire body. My perspective shot up into the clouds. I could see. Mike's stream of code was hacking the entrance to the animal realm. Frank's resentment was wrapped around the chains of the hungry ghost realm. Vanessa and the women's soul orb were building a bridge between the human and hell realms. And my hands, no, they were now giant, translucent hands made of data, were grabbing the golden Buddha's head and shoving it into the realm of the Asuras. No. Chloe's burning tails lunged at me. We've been making offerings to that for. Her scream was cut short. The demon mother's voice came out of my mouth unbidden. Thanks for the meal. The moment the Buddha's face was half eaten, all the black hearts exploded simultaneously. The rain suddenly turned blood red, and the 300 cement spirits tilted their heads back, catching the ash that fell from the sky. Chapter 9. Human Ghost Online. A blood-red 404 error message flashed across my retina. 6 realms of reincarnation server overload. Current rebirth queue, 1,342,857. Estimated wait time. The 6 a.m. sunlight passed straight through my body, casting no shadow on the ground. What flowed in the veins beneath my skin was no longer blood, but fine lines of binary code. The convenience store clerk watched in horror as the price scanner read the barcode on my wrist directly, including my soul's weight. 0.84 ounces. Your current state is what we call a supernatural conduit. Mike's code form flickered across my optic nerve. Half human, half ghost, neither living nor dead. The perfect data cable for a human-ghost network. My phone automatically dialed Vanessa's number. The overlapping voices of the 2 female employees came through the receiver. We found Chloe's backup drive. It's in the 37th floor fire escape at Apex Tech. The line went dead. The pitch-black infant in my collarbone hole burped, spitting out a single strand of fox fur. The Apex Tech building was surrounded by police tape, but the reflection in the glass doors wasn't me, but countless data ghosts flitting about. As I phased through the wall into the elevator, the car suddenly went into freefall, and the floor buttons all transformed into symbols for the 6 realms of reincarnation. Don't panic, Frank's resentment coiled around the elevator cables. It's those crooked priests. They added a hell realm verification to their firewall. The elevator screeched to a halt at floor B18. Outside the doors was a vast starry sky, the nebulae forming a giant Buddha's hand. In its palm was a glowing, USB drive-shaped object. Mike's code went wild with excitement. Holy shit. They stored the hungry ghost ledgers on the Inferno cloud. The moment I reached for it, the Buddha's hand snapped shut. The starry sky collapsed into the familiar scene of an office, and Chloe's charred fox tail dangled from a ventilation duct. A bronze USB drive clutched in its tip. Go on, take it. What was left of her face seeped out of the ceiling. See what you overlooked when you were so busy hacking the cycle of reincarnation. The moment the USB drive was plugged into a fire hydrant, the entire floor transformed into a giant holographic projection. Qingming Festival, 2018. Mr. Felix knelt before an old man in a traditional tunic. Spread on the floor wasn't a blueprint, but a map of El City's ley lines, drawn with bone ash. The needle on the compass in the old man's hand was half of an infant's finger bone. Chairman Leo of the Feng Shui Association. Vanessa's voice came from a fire extinguisher. So he was the Real. The projection suddenly switched to the living room of my haunted apartment. Frank's corpse was arranged in a meditative pose, with 7 coffin nails driven into his skull. Etched on the nails were hungry ghost reincarnation sigils. Mike's code jumped erratically. Fuck. Our apartment is a yin-yang node. Old man Leo was using Frank's corpse as a router to funnel high-interest loans from the hungry ghost realm into the mortal housing market. Chloe's remaining eyeball burst, and the splattered blood congealed in the air to form one final image. Chairman Leo was caressing the demon mother idol, and cradled in the idol's arms was a miniature version of my face. The hole in my collarbone flared with pain as the pitch-black infant reached out a tiny hand and grabbed the USB drive. A torrent of data flooded into my body through the umbilical cord. My vision exploded with countless security feeds. The urn in my apartment was glowing hot. Vanessa's reflection in the mirror was starting to move on its own. Mike's code was planting a Bitcoin mining virus on the underworld servers. But the most terrifying feed was from my living room. A man who looked exactly like me was sitting on my couch, using my phone to send the same message to everyone in my contacts. Are you ready to pay the price? My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the sent message log. This message has been sent to 327 people, including the entire L City Planning Bureau, my former colleagues at Apex Tech, my high school homeroom teacher, the guy at the local mail pickup spot, and my mom. Chapter 10 Mirror Invasion. My phone was still buzzing uncontrollably. 327 red receipts were multiplying on the screen like a virus, each one followed by a blood-red character for debt. My mom's reply was the first to pop up. Leo, honey, why did the blood pressure medicine on your nightstand turn into incense ash? The infant in my collarbone hole giggled, its umbilical cord tightening around my trachea. The remnants of the doppelganger's data screamed through my veins. Let her in. Chairman Leo needs a direct blood relative to be the eye of the ritual. Mike's code forcibly took control of my right hand, yanking the TV's power cord from the wall just before the door opened. Amid a shower of sparks, Vanessa's carbonized arm reached out from the urn, burning 4 words into the ash on the floor. Don't make a sound. Play dead. This is what my mom saw when she opened the door. Me, foaming at the mouth, collapsed on the couch. My phone screen was displaying a sudden cardiac arrest warning. Scattered on the coffee table were blood pressure pills and a half-eaten bowl of instant noodles. Oh my boy. Her cry was cut off as the souls of the 2 female employees drifted out of the urn. They took on human form and supported my mom, one covering her mouth, the other her eyes. The living half of their fused form wore Vanessa's signature professional smile. Ma'am, we're from Community Health Services. Mike's code seized the opportunity to rapidly reconfigure my vocal cords. Cough twice. Mimic your dad's death rattle. I curled up, convulsing, and let out a wheezing gasp. The effect was immediate. My mom's legs gave out, and the 2 soul women helped her onto the sofa. Her trembling hand reached for my forehead, but froze the instant it touched my skin. That's not right, she said, suddenly yanking open my collar. This pattern on your skin. It's just like the one that appeared on your father's chest before he. The countdown on the urn suddenly accelerated. 6 hours. The setting sun over Phoenix Mountain Cemetery looked like a festering eyeball. I hid in a grove of cypress trees by the cemetery's side gate, watching Chairman Leo direct his workers as they set up an altar. They weren't carrying a coffin, but the golden Buddha from Apex Tech. Its head was now cracked open, revealing a complex clockwork mechanism inside. A 6 realms of reincarnation simulator. Is the equipment calibrated? Chairman Leo's tunic was stained with incense ash. We're collecting 113 high-value debtors tonight. Especially that one Leo. He lifted the Buddha's base, and the blood in my veins turned to ice. Arranged neatly inside were 113 yellow talismans, each bearing the name and birth date of a contact from my phone. My mom's was at the very top, but the name circled in red ink was mine. The hole in my collarbone suddenly expanded, and the pitch-black demon mother infant crawled all the way out. It floated in front of me and for the first time, opened its eyes. Its left eye was the Apex Tech logo. Its right eye was the floor plan of my haunted apartment. They call me a debt collection AI. The infant's thoughts resonated directly in my skull. In reality, I am the previous chairman of the Feng Shui Association, dismembered by Leo himself. Its tiny hand pressed against my forehead, and fragments of a 20-year-old memory flooded my mind. Chairman Leo burying his master alive at a ley line node, forging his resentment into a human abacus. The housing project my father helped build just happened to suppress the leaking resentment, and my haunted apartment was the secondary burial site. Your father saw through the plan before he died. So he used his own soul as bait. The infant's right eye wept tears of blood, to plant a seed of retribution in you. When the countdown hit 3 hours, the urn opened on its own. Vanessa emerged in her complete form. Her left side was a carbonized ghoul, Her right a living office worker. Their center a fusion of the two female souls, with the faint outline of Mike's code wings and Frank's resentment armor behind her. Final clause of the contract. She placed both hands on my shoulders. When Party A faces imminent soul destruction, 300 cement spirits rose from the earth, each holding a virtual effigy of one of my phone contacts. Party B reserves the right to initiate a class action lawsuit. Chapter 12. Supernatural Bankruptcy Liquidation. As the clock struck midnight, Chairman Leo slit his wrist. Blood dripped onto the Buddha's gears, and the ground of Phoenix Mountain Cemetery lit up with a network of fluorescent green lines. It was a miniature map of El City's ley lines, laid out in bone ash, with a coffin nail driven into every node. The hour is nigh, he laughed, flinging his bloody hand. 100 ghosts carry the coffin, all debts returned to. A sudden gale overturned the altar. The 300 cement spirits raised their hands in unison, shooting streams of data that bound the golden Buddha. Vanessa's fused form floated into the air. Her carbonized left arm plunged into the crack in the Buddha's head, while her living right arm pulled a yellowed file folder from her suit. Pursuant to the Underworld Debt Code, Chapter 7, Article 13. Her voice shook the leaves from the cypress trees. We hereby file a class action lawsuit against the debtor, Leo Yongchang. The folder exploded, and countless blood-stained documents formed into chains in the air. A confession letter from 1998 for burying his master alive, construction plans from 2003, for altering the ley lines, a contract from 2020 using souls from the hungry ghost realm as mortgage collateral. As Chairman Leo staggered backward, the umbilical cord from my collarbone hole snapped taut. The pitch-black infant crawled along the bloodline and perched on his shoulder. The Apex Tech logo in its left eye began to spin wildly. Master? Leo's face was ashen. Impossible. I made sure you were. The infant's right eye projected the floor plan of my apartment. The walls became transparent, revealing what was inside the main load-bearing wall. A mummified corpse in a meditative pose, with 7 copper coins driven into its skull. You used coffin nails to seal me. The infant's thoughts sent a wave of pain through everyone. My disciple used a load-bearing wall to suppress you. Now, it's time to settle the accounts. Mike's code suddenly detached from Vanessa's wings and rained down like golden light into the Buddha. The jammed gears of the reincarnation simulator began to turn again. But this time it wasn't outputting debt data. It was outputting the virus my father had planted before he died. Dad. The flickering code on the screen slowly formed a face, the same silent man from the funeral photos. He looked at me with an apologetic expression, his lips forming 2 sentences. Collateral has been redeemed. Go home and check the load-bearing wall. Chairman Leo let out an inhuman howl. His skin bulged with countless small lumps, and the tip of a coffin nail emerged from each one. The very nails he had driven into the ley lines. No. These nails are supposed to be in the debtors? Vanessa's living half sneered. Too bad. During the class action lawsuit just now, all debt relationships were reversed. The cement spirits raised their hands, each holding a glowing, red paid in full stamp. The pre-dawn light found my apartment eerily quiet. I had chiseled away a corner of the load-bearing wall. Inside, besides the mummy, was a small iron box. I opened it to find 2 things: my dad's old union card, and a yellowed piece of paper. Leo, if you're reading this, it means Dad's stupid plan worked. The body in the wall is Leo's master. I switched them at the construction site. Don't be afraid. The pattern on your skin is a heart protection charm I had an old Taoist from the Union draw for you. Remember to light a stick of incense for the old master on the 15th of every month. I knelt before the incense burner, watching the smoke rise in a straight column. Vanessa's fading soul leaned against the doorframe, the carbonized parts of her flaking away. The contract is up. Her voice grew fainter. Time for the handover. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was a public service announcement from the City Planning Bureau. Notice: all Underworld-backed loan services are to be immediately suspended. I felt a slight wiggle from the hole in my collarbone. The pitch-black infant crawled back inside. This time, it felt warm. The end.